Hi guys, welcome back. I'm your host Naebella.
And I'm Shinai.
And together, we're two divine women. Hey lady, how you doing today?
I am well. How are you?
I'm good. You know, this is my favorite time of the day.
You mean wine time?
That too.
Wine time.
That too. But I was talking about, us coming together and just talking about everything that's out there. It's like my safe haven.
Your safe haven. I
Yes.
love that.
Yeah.
You look fantastic today.
I appreciate you, girl.
Yeah. The beat is pretty bomb, I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you. You look real snazzy with the fedora. You feel like about to bust some poetry out right now.
Right. I'm not gonna bust some poetry. But I will tell everybody I am the best. There's my poem. Just kidding. She's trying to take my shine as usual.
I was not there.
Okay, so anyway, she's obviously trying to outdo me here with all of her glitz and glamour, all this bedazzled such and such, and all this. Is this seafoam girl?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
She picked it out of all that everything I was wearing. She picked out seafoam. Y'all better get y'all some.
It's really cute, and it matches your pants.
And my fingernails.
Your fingernails.
I went out to bed yesterday.
Well, guess what? I have one too. So you're not special.
Now, who's trying to outshine who?
I'm trying to make up for that
Okay.
little frenemy thing she just did. The earrings are seafoam. The ring is seafoam. So y'all check out
Seafoam.
check
Tell them
it out.
they can get it.
Seafoam. Etsy.com/shops/seafoam.
Check it out. So, what's today's topic?
Today we are talking about something really interesting. The dynamics of co-parenting. So bitter baby mamas and baby daddies. And why is it so interesting to everybody? Like, why do you think it's so?
I think because even though it's old, it's still relevant. It's like it's still in today's society, no matter what year changes or what have you. You still see it out there today.
That's true. So, as you guys know, with every show that we do, we feature a flower that coincides with today's topic. So we either have the rose, we've got the thorn sometimes if it's more of a deeper topic, and then we've got the sunflowers if it's more about healing, spirituality, and love. So today ours is going to be...
I'm going to say it's a rose because once upon a time, that relationship, before that child was conceived, I'm pretty sure that they were in a relationship, whether you hooked up over the night or whether you guys were committed. There was a bond there at one point. So I would say that it's a rose, but I'm going to go deeper and say that it's the thorn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that's a really good way to look at that. No, it's really sad when you think about two people who want to have a successful relationship, or where they're kind of going with the flow,
Right.
and then they end up realizing maybe after having a child they're not really compatible. That changes the dynamic of so much, because not only are you having a failed romance, but then you have a child and you have to learn how to take care of that child and move on and date people and have everybody kind of be on the same team with that. But that can be very complicated sometimes, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to, what's the word? I try not to, I don't want to bash anybody, but I would think that you are doing your homework on this person, or you're making sure that you and this person are compatible to where you guys may have a sustaining, and because relationship is hard whether you find out you're compatible or not, because if you find out you are compatible, that just makes it a little bit easier. You know what I mean? That you are being that I know I like this person, I'm willing to go through the hardship with them. It's still gonna be hard,
Right?
but it makes the road a little bit easier, as opposed to you find out you're not even compatible at all, and then you're still gonna go and indulge in this.
Yeah, it's definitely complicated, because I know people will say, "Oh, well, you can't help who you're attracted to," and I couldn't help myself.
I think you can.
I agree, and I don't. It's weird. We're not trying to bash anybody, but I do think that when you're bringing a child to a situation, you definitely have to make sure that you think about how the kid's going to be affected by who you're involved with, because that's another party. It's not just about you. And I personally think, this is just me, y'all don't have to agree with it, it's fine, but if you're not in a position where you're able to be in a committed relationship with someone, maybe you just got in a relationship and you just want to have some fun, there's nothing wrong with using protection. You're protecting yourself from making a child who you may not be able to connect with the father, so you may not have a stable relationship, and you're, helping yourself, we're preventing disease.
Let me put this down, because I asked a question for you.
I don't know.
You said, yes, I got a question for her. So, you said that, have fun but use protections. What if one of the parties is like, I don't like condoms, or I don't like, doing birth control pills, like...
If I was in that position?
Right.
Oh, I have been, and I broke up with the person. Because, here's the thing, I dated a guy who had kids. He was married, and then he also,
Pause. He wasn't with you when he was married. I just had to ask, just to really make sure.
I quit.
I'm just for the people in the back.
First of all, do I look like the type? America, look at me. Do I look like the type? No. No. I would never. And I've had a lot of married men who have come on to me.
See?
And I have always said no. But going back to the topic at hand, I was dating someone who was not married.
Good. That's all we want.
Who had kids, right? And it was interesting because don't have a problem having kids. Don't have any kids of my own right now. But when I was dating him, I felt like I was getting the brunt of all of his frustration from being with the kid's mother in the past. So sometimes when you are dating someone who has kids, you're not just being involved with the kids, you're also taking on the person's attitudes about relationships from another person. And you have to be willing to let all that go, because since he was so traumatized by having kids, he didn't know it was going to happen. He was using protection with her, I guess, but he was like, oh, you have all these kids. Well, that's what happens. Duh. Then he had all these he had a laundry list of things that he wanted a woman. She couldn't use the pill, but he didn't want to get her pregnant, so she had to use IUD only.
Catch-22. Oh, okay.
And then it was, but it has to be this brand, because this is the only brand he trusts. Because I'm like, so you were with your baby mom.
Time out. You mean to tell me this guy went and did the research for a female's contraceptive?
But wasn't interested in using condoms.
Where did he do that at?
That's why he's not in my life.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
But I do think that, and it's a good point about who should be responsible for birth control, because I feel like sometimes in society it's like, well, that's the woman's job. She should be the one to have the pill. Not everybody wants the birth control pill, because those adverse effects will kick your butt. Some people they gain a lot of weight, they get depressed, they have anxiety, and it's not to say that every pill works like that, because it depends on what pill works for you. But some guys are quick to say, oh, well, you're the woman, you should be worrying about birth control since you're going to carry the baby, but they don't want to wear condoms.
But here's a quick side note question, because I you can't really believe everything you read or hear or whatever, but you know how you scroll on Facebook, you see different articles, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I seen something to where they was coming out with male birth control pills. So do you think a man would want to go through those side effects, the same thing of taking the birth control pill?
No, there was actually, I think it was it BuzzFeed video? I think they did something on YouTube where they had men take birth control pills, and they were going through changes in a week.
Oh, wow.
Some guys can't even handle being sick, let alone being on birth control pills. Let's be real. I'm not bashing men, but it is true. Women have to deal with a lot of physical changes. So I just don't think it's right when they put all the responsibility on the woman, and they're like, well, you put the birth control in it up, and she's got to deal with the side effects of acne, gaining weight, irritability, and he's like, why are you tripping? Well, you told me to use birth control, and you don't want to deal with me now because I've gained weight and I have all these adverse effects. It's both parties.
Yeah, it takes two to lay down.
It takes two to lay down. But I do think that if you have kids and you're dating someone who doesn't have kids, or even if they do have kids, you have to take into account that it's not fair to put all of your past trauma on this person and be like, well, my ex did this, so I can't have this from you. It's not my problem. That's your own trauma. And unfortunately, when you're dating with kids, you definitely have to be careful about who you introduce your kids to. From my experience of dating people with kids, and you also have to keep the baby mama or baby daddy in check. You can't have, some women, they're okay with the father of their kids moving on, or they're okay with not being together, but when he moves on and the chick is attractive, they start to get really insecure, some of them, and they intentionally make situations more difficult because they all of a sudden they don't like her, they don't want her by the kids and all that, but y'all aren't working out, so you need to let that go.
I agree. I mean, do you think that's because as long as he's single, I still have access to him. Like, so I'm not gonna, cause his life strife. But once I find out, okay, he got somebody that he's actually potentially, wanting to talk to, that'll raise my ugly head.
I don't know. I think it's hard to say because I've never been in that situation. But I know, and my mom is a single mom, and my dad is married and moved on and all those things, and she never really had a problem. But some of the women he was with were kind of acting kind of strange when it was like me, the kid, being there, and then some of them I felt like they thought I was threatening their relationship. I don't know how, because I was like 9 or 10, but I know that not all.
Houseway?
I don't know. I know that all women aren't into like taking care of kids, but some of them kind of like the stepmom. I guess they were like the stepmom. Some of them were very, I don't know. They acted kind of nasty, kind of mean. So it's a very, very deep topic because you've got the whole thing of the baby mom and the baby daddy. Then you've got how they engage kids. Then you've got the whole thing of how the kids are affected by stepmom, stepdad, all that.
Yes, because can't really speak for, from a point of view of someone being a baby mom, because I don't have kids and I've never dated a man that had kids. But I do know someone who was in the child perspective, to where they were in the midst of the drama going on, and then they grew up affected. Mm-hmm. There was, this one guy who had two different children by two different women, and one woman, she didn't really give his daughter, what's the word to say? She didn't paint the dad bad in the child's light because she wanted the child to form their own opinion of their dad. Meanwhile, on the other side, it was just, dad ain't this, dad didn't want to do this, dad don't want you, just what I think is, I think that person was treating their child like a best friend instead of a child. You can vent to your friends about that, what I mean? But not the child, because now you're implanting bad seeds about this person, and they're not even there to defend themselves on it. So, let's say, and it's crazy because let's say the one child grows up and she's actually able to interact with her dad, and now she's able to form her own opinion because it's a clean slate. Whatever he does is because he did it himself. It wasn't planted before, so they're able to form a real good bond. And the other side is kind of strife because he's already done it when he gets there. You know what I mean? So they grow up. Now you've got the best relationship with one person, and it's crazy because let's say this person that you have a real close relationship, and they have yet to make you a grandfather. Meanwhile, the other child has kids already. Now that's another relationship that's strained because of what was planted when that child was younger.
Yeah, no, I think
that makes sense.
I think that's a really good point. So we do have the baby mama, baby daddy, and then we have how they paint the parent in the child's eyes, which can definitely affect how the child sees family in general and how the child sees or interacts with that parent. So, and
that's for generations to come, because now you got family members that you're not even gonna know.
Right. So I definitely think that if you are co-parenting with someone, it's good to not allow your child to have negative ideas about that parent and let that kid get to know and have their own relationship, so it doesn't affect and traumatize them in the future.
True. And if whatever negative painting they have is because that parent did it themselves.
Right.
They dug their own hole.
Right. So, well, y'all stay around. We're going to talk more about this when we get back from our break.
See you soon.
What can I say? Mamba out.
Hey guys, welcome back. So before we cut the break, we were talking about co-parenting and baby mama drama type stuff. So Shinai, what do you think are like some? Okay, how to put this? I'm gonna ask you this question like good. Okay, co-parenting. How do you feel? A mom or a dad, like what are the boundaries that they should set for someone who's coming in on a relationship being with that person with the child?
That's a good question. And again, I'm speaking from the experience of having dated fathers before. And my whole thing was they were very, and I think it's reasonable, they were somewhat guarded in terms of who they were going to present to their kid, because they didn't want their kid to get attached to someone who may not be in their life for a long time. So they created boundaries within the amount of time that they felt it was good to be introduced to their kid.
Very
so
smart.
for some it would be 3 months, for some it would be 9 months, for some it would be dependent on where the two people are in their relationship. And my mom was the same way. When my mom, was getting involved with people, and I think that's great. But the other side of that is when you are in an established relationship with someone who does have a kid, and say I'm dating a guy who has kids, a parent, what have you, the mom may start to get overprotective, because we don't know if it comes from a place of insecurity or from a place of just wanting to nurture and protect their kid. Maybe it's a place of both. I don't know. But some mothers will feel like that they don't want the new woman to play the role of a mom. It's like, well, I'm your mom. This woman doesn't need to be doing your hair a certain way, or she doesn't need to be telling you certain things, or having like sex discussions with kids. I think if I was dating like a guy who had a teenage daughter, I would not feel comfortable having the birds and the bees talk with her. I'd be like, you need to talk to your mom. Or discipline. That's another one. I knew a guy who, he had a child, he dated a woman with a child, and he felt comfortable disciplining or telling the mom that she needs to be more strict with her child. He didn't hit the girl, but he was like, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z with your kid. She didn't like that, and she broke up with him.
Oh.
So I think that's one thing I would say is a red flag. Do not do. If you did not give birth to that kid, and the mom is still in the picture, or the dad is in the picture, I don't think you should be putting your hands on that child, because.
I got these side.
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
You shouldn't be putting your hands on that child, because God forbid something happens, you're liable for that child's well-being.
Well, I'm pretty sure they're not wringing the kid's neck.
We don't know that. We can
I
assume
would
that.
hope they're not wringing the
But how
kid's
many
neck.
times have you seen the news and some mom's boyfriend killed the kid?
And
That's
guess what?
happened a lot.
And I can guarantee you they didn't wait 3 months to meet that person either.
Right.
Probably 2-3 weeks.
The thing is, if you're married, I'll say if you're married, maybe at that point it might be okay. But I definitely don't think you should be assuming
Wait.
certain
Even
discipline.
at that, even if you're married.
If you're
It's
married,
still
I think it's
individual
okay.
spouse?
I think it's okay to
Okay,
discipline a
okay.
child, but that's because you've invested in that person and you know that they're not going to be abusive. But
Okay.
specifically with dating, I would say no, because I would not want. If I found out some lady hit my child, I'm beating her ass.
Okay, but what if the child did something that was like, they're not supposed to be doing? Okay, because here's what I was leading to with my question. You said that they should not beat the child, that should be left to the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put a scenario out there. I'll take patient for some. I don't put the kid in the hospital. The kid did something bad, and at this time, we're gonna say that the mom is the person that's the step parent, and the dad is the person whose child it is. The dad is not there. The mother is not able to get there in time. You mean to tell me that you would rather that the stepmom wait? They did something bad as hell. Wait to let the parents know, hey, you did X, Y, Z, and then they're gonna get on them.
I think the stepmom should have a verbal discussion with the child and say that's not good, that's not okay, and then talk to the parent and let the parent come in and continue to discipline the child.
Not what I'm gonna do. If I am somebody's step parent and I have invested time.
Are you talking about marriage or dating?
If I'm somebody's step parent and I have invested the time and you do something, I'm gonna get on that ass and I'm gonna tell your parents, because the way I feel, it takes a village to raise a child.
You said tell, you didn't say hit the kid. That's a difference.
Well, okay. What I'm saying, no, discipline. Okay.
What is discipline?
When I say discipline,
You
I
have
mean,
verbal or you have physical?
when I say discipline, where I grew up, is you got that ass taxed and then they went and told my mother later. Because that's how I grew up. Because like I said, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah, but
As long as they didn't, the child wasn't, abused, but they let them know, hey, that's wrong.
Yeah, but
you did this. I'm gonna let your mom know when when she gets home.
For me, I wasn't. My parents weren't okay with other people hitting me, and I can imagine like if I was dating, say I was dating. Sorry, when I was younger and my dad was dating certain people, or even my mom, if one of them laid a hand on me, that would have been a problem. Like my parents would have gotten wind of that and they would not have been happy. My parents are not okay with other people putting their hands on me because in their mind, they're like, we can handle that. We don't need other people trying to discipline the kid. I wasn't a bad kid, to be fair, but I feel like that's probably where the line is drawn. You don't put your hands on another person's kid because again, there are a lot of people who use a lot of unnecessary force. I'm not talking about in your case where
right,
you were raised.
In my case,
yeah,
my aunts and uncles got in that ass and they told my mom this is what she did.
Well, if it's family, it's one thing. If it's family, it's one thing. But when you're dating somebody, because your family still they might know what's appropriate in terms of hitting you. Because my aunts and uncles used to beat me if I was bad. That's one thing.
Okay.
But if we're talking about strangers that you're dating, who, let's say you've been involved with someone for 4 months and this person, let's say you're dating another parent, and you have 2 different sets of rules that you raise your kids with. Let's say you're more lax with your kids, and then let's say, the guy you're talking to is more militant. So he's gonna have different boundaries, and he may feel like if you're cutting off like 2 adults are talking, and let's say that the child is coming in talking, he may say, oh, your child is being disrespectful, beat the kid. That's why, that's just me.
Okay.
That's why I feel like it's a dicey area, because some people have different things that they're comfortable with, and they might feel like the child needs to be seen and not heard. So when you have old school people like that who think like that, they might want to beat you for everything.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's just
the wind blowing, come get a butt whooping.
Yeah. Oh, you burped. That's nasty. So that's why I feel like it should be something where if you want to vocalize it, it's cool. You're like, oh, ladies shouldn't do this, ladies should do that, or kids should do that. But I think when it comes to actual, this physical discipline, I think the parents should do that because they can decide the severity of punishment. That's just me, though.
That's fair. I mean, because I've had step parents on both sides. But my mom was married and my dad was married. With my mom being married, my stepdad, he was strict, and like I said, it was like they had invested that time to where I was his first child before they had their biological child. So it was like I've invested this time back. I knew you since you were 3, so. Like I said, you're gonna get this whooping, and I'm gonna let your mom know what you did when you get home. So I'm really a bad kid, but I'm just saying that's
still bad. She's still bad.
That's how that went. But when in my dad's household, it was really different because my stepmom, I love her to death. She is so sweet, and I kind of feel bad because I was that little girl that was like, okay, I like you, lady, but what you doing with my daddy? Bad thing. Bad. And it was like, we have the best relationship now, but it was like, okay, I'm the daddy's girl, okay, if you're not my mom, why you with my dad? That was my mindset, and a little girl was like,
So let me ask you this then, from that story, do you feel like, do you ever feel bad for the step parents who are trying to be very nurturing and very kind to the kid, and the kid is very cold and distant or belligerent?
I do feel bad if they're like that because that's not necessary. Because like I said, I was respectful, but it was just the point like, lady, that's my daddy, like with him. But she did one thing and I will never forget. I believe I was about 13, and there was this movie that came out, and I don't want to ruin the name of the title, but the story was that it was a blended family, and the mother had 2 kids, and the mom, she was dying of cancer. Now, nothing's wrong with my mom physically or what have you, and the stepmom was letting the kids know that, hey, yeah, I'm with your dad, but I'm not here to take your mom's place even though she's leaving. And we sat down and watched that movie, and it made me realize, okay, yes, my mom is here too. I can look at it as I have 2 mother figures. Yeah, and I love her to death. Like, I remember being in church one day, and she didn't have to do it, but she did. I was in church, and I was about 13, and my girl time came on. So I'm in church, and I stand up, I start dancing, and my little dress was staying in the back. And it was like I was in the back of it. I was like in front to where people behind me could see it. And you know how they have those towels that they lay on people when they pass out? So she came like, just so ever so nonchalant, well not nonchalant, like she You didn't know what she was doing. She came over, and as she was dancing, whatever, she came and she tied it around me or whatever, and she didn't have to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So she was nurturing in that way, and that's why I say that our relationship just bloomed from there. And even though, yeah, I didn't know what her intentions were, I learned that she was there for me. She wasn't there just for my dad. Like, it wasn't like, I'm with your dad and you just come with them. No, I'm gonna love you and I'm gonna love your dad.
And see, when you have step parents or people that you're dating, they may not get married, but they want to nurture your child. I think if the baby mom or the ex who has the kids or what have you, I think she should see the bigger picture and give the person props and respect, because it's not easy for someone who does not have kids or someone who has kids with someone else to come in and love your child like that. So I definitely give credit to people who are trying to do the right thing when they're involved with people who have kids, because it's very selfless. And when you have, like, let's say the typical, baby mama or the angry ex or what have you, or whatever way you want to term that, if she's getting upset or she's getting defensive or if she feels like spiteful, it's a lot of immaturity, possible insecurity on her end. And I think she should see the bigger picture, because that child is taking so much away from that relationship.
Right.
And if that child sees where the mom and the stepmom don't get along, that can frame, especially if it's a young woman, that can frame how she attaches to men in the future.
Right.
And people don't realize how susceptible children are to trauma. The smallest thing can traumatize a child. Their minds are still developing. They're still learning their identity. They're still developing boundaries. So in the case of unstable or emotionally immature baby mamas and so forth, that does more damage than good. Because you can definitely traumatize a kid based off of the fact that some evil stepmom wants to be very cold and nasty, or maybe she just wants the dad and she's not trying to connect with the child. The child is going to notice that they don't feel loved, and that can affect their self-esteem, or that can affect their sense of self-love in the future. So I would say be careful about that. And I don't think you have to have a kid to have opinions about this. It's just really common.
I agree, because like I said, the whole time I spoke about this, I spoke about it from the child's perspective.
Exactly. And I've been there too, and I know how it affected me, and to this day, I still don't like the woman who was acting like a crazy stepmom.
Oh, I'm sorry you had to go through that. Actually, but shout outs to the step parents who do step up, not taking it away from the actual parents, because they don't have to do that. You know what I mean? They could easily be like how your stepmom was and just be there for the other person and not give a heck to what the kids.
Yeah, and I think if you are a step parent or you're someone who is interested in someone with kids, even if you don't like kids or you're not like Mary Poppins, you can still try to relate to the child from a different perspective. You can try to be friends with them and understand what the boundaries are, and I think that takes a lot of communication. You may not even have to be cool with the baby mom, but at the end of the day, you have to co-parent in a way that's peaceful for everybody and mature, because not only are you creating a relational pattern, but you're teaching the child how relationships should be.
I agree. And I love this because my dad is married, and he just seen my mom, I want to say probably like 3 days ago. And even though he was married with his wife, he did not acknowledge the mother of his child. You know what I mean? He actually said, hey, how you doing? Gave her a hug, whatever, like, because it's still family. And I believe that's because when he had the opportunity, she didn't bash him to the child and allow them to, allow them to create that bond. So he has all the love and all the respect for her in the world. You know what I mean? So that it just comes full circle.
So definitely the gem would be to co-parent in a healthy manner.
I agree.
Well, y'all, this concludes this episode of Baby Mamas and Baby Daddies.
Drama.
Sorry, Miss Jackson. Woo. Anyway, we're out. Y'all make sure to follow us on all social media platforms, and thank you so much for tuning in.
Somewhere.
What?
I guarantee. Watch.
Cut. Stop it now. All right, y'all. Have a good night.
Peace.